As you all know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Lalaji Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education, building quality centers for elementary education, approachable for all kids is another goal of IAEC. Finding the best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also impart training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you all know that so far we have conducted 138 sessions on national education policy. We have received 16,787 registrations, 15,419 questions on national education policy. We have received participation from 6 countries, India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, and Kuwait. From India, we have seen participation from 22 states and 116 cities. We aim to organize minimum 200 sessions. With this, we would be reaching out to 100,000 educators and 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like speakers would be joining us to share their perspective and thoughts. Now, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very, very special 139th session of Leadership Talk. Our first key speaker, very senior, eminent education leader, S.K. Bhattacharya sir. Bhattacharya sir is the chairman with the Bal Bharati Public School, Navi Mumbai, Maharashtra. He's a very, very senior education leader with many decades of experience in education. He's a renowned education with the revolutionary thoughts. He's associated with Bal Bharati Group of Educational Institutions. He currently holds many prestigious positions like advisor, Child Education Society, which is a managing chain of which is managing the chain of 19 Bal Bharati public school all over the country. He's also president of Action Committee, which is the umbrella organization of all India associations of public schools. He's also the chairman with the National Coordination Committee of Independent Schools of India, chairman with the BBPS Training Center, which is Child Education Society, chairman NTTI Pusa Road. He's also the chairman with the Child Care Center Pusa Road, member Board of Studies MAT program with Guru Gobind Singh Indraprasth University, Delhi. He's also the member of advisory board with Government of Delhi. He's also the convener with the Sports Council under Child Education Society. He has been recognized and awarded with many awards for his contribution to the field of education. We are truly honored with your presence, Bhattacharya sir. Big thanks for joining. We are honored with your presence. I'll come back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I'll come back to you. Our next speaker, another very senior education leader, R.K. Pandey sir. Pandey sir is the principal with Delhi Public School, Agra, Uttar Pradesh. He is an accomplished educator with demonstrated ability to teach, motivate, and direct students while maintaining high interest in achievement. Consistently maintain high relations with students, parents, faculty, and administrators. He is very motivated with a strong planning, organization, leadership skills. He has done a few important e-learning programs during COVID-19, like Prediction X Loss Without Longitude from Harvard University, Neuro Leadership, Educational and Central Queensland University, skills on artificial intelligence from Accenture. He has worked with many prestigious schools like High School Bangalore, Lawrence High School Bangalore, Fleming Education Bangalore, Gulbarga, Karnataka. Now, Delhi Public School, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. By CBSE. I would request if other people can mute themselves. He has been nominated by CBSE to the Ministry of HRD for a National Award for contribution to the field of education. The PhD Chambers of Commerce, UP and DITE Lucknow awarded the following 2 consecutive year award: Best School in UP for Excellence in the Use of Digital Technology and Best School in UP for Excellence in Teacher Development. We welcome you, Pandey sir. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'll come back to you. Our next speaker, Samarjit Singh sir. Samarjit sir is the Managing Director with Sai Grace Academy International, Dehradun, Uttarakhand. He's a distinguished organizer, academician, leader, an ardent speaker. He is blessed with the gift of the job as a motivator and guide to our colleagues and students. He has been awarded and recognized many times for his contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Samarjit sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. I'll come back to you. Our next speaker, Ranjita Rani ji. Ranjita ma'am is the principal with Mount Litra Z School, Agra, Uttar Pradesh. She's a creative person at heart with a zeal for writing and collaborating. She ensures that she implements 21st century learning design in her classrooms. Multitasking helps her to venture into many projects in areas of work, making her a better person with each experience. She loves growing up with each new day, bringing a new learning opportunity in her life. We welcome you, Ranjita ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. And our last key speaker for this very special session, a very senior EdTech leader, Jaswinder Singh ji. Jaswinder ji is the founder and CEO of Wordsworth ELT. Jaswinder sir has an experience of 30 years in the field of education, technology, and has also served as a consultant to UNESCO and education. Wordsworth English Lab is designed for India and is a highly research initiative of ACT UNIF Group. It is a trusted education company with 2 decades of service in technology, education and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations in institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training, and the continual service provided by the ACT UNIF and its committed network of dealers. We welcome you, Jaswinder sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Rajulji. Thank you so much.
Welcome, sir. I'll come back to you with this the next part of the session, which is the opening remark part. So I would request all our key speakers if we can have your quick 1-minute opening remark before I come to you for your main talk. So I would request first Bhattacharya sir, sir, if we can have your 1-minute opening remark.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Before we start our discussion on a very important topic, NEP 2020, I'd like to bring to your kind notice that the education reforms in the country is a very old time thing. In fact, right since the beginning of in India's independence in the year 1947, we had been trying to bring reforms in the education system, right from the time of the Gudalia Commission in 1952. And after 1952, we had the recommendations of the Kothari Commission, 1964-65, and most of the recommendations were also incorporated in the education policy, 1968. Thereafter, we had another education policy, NEP, which was adopted by the Government of India in 1986. And then we had a defundamentalized part of a constitution to see that India can achieve the target which are envisaged in our constitution, particularly the directive principles of state policy. And thereafter, we have the 2009 RTE. Now, because of all these reforms and all these recommendations by the various kind of commissions and all, what is the problem of India even till date? We are still struggling with our education system. Still, we believe our education system is very, very poor when we match our education standard with the world around. Let us also try to find out that despite of all the reforms and stations given by the various kind of committees and various kind of commissions and all, what is exactly lacking in our education system? In view of that only, the discussion on NEP 2020 will become more relevant, because whatever we have been able to do in the last 74 years' time, and what is the achievements of the last 74 years' time, and that shows the willingness, political will of the government, political will of the bureaucrats, everything, and so on and so forth. When I'm talking about the quality of education, we are lagging behind and our standard of education is very, very at a low end. What is the problem? Why our standard of education at such a low standard is a matter for contemplation and discussion. Number two, failing to achieve the target of 100% literacy despite of 74 years, we have not been able to achieve that minimum target of 100% literacy. Number three problem is there the right political will to enforce and implement the policies? And third, inadequate investment. If you want to achieve the targets, then you have to raise the investment both in the public sector and the private sector. It is what is very pathetic to note that only 3.66% of the GDP is invested on education. That's a very, very sad kind of state of affairs. Again, the minimum requirement of around 11% GDP, and only then we'll be able to achieve something that is desirable to bring reform in our education system. And one more thing, that we find that too much of interference, political interference, and lack of trust between the public and the private partnership, and excessive bureaucratic control and red tapeism. These are the background of the whole education system in the country. Now we're coming to NEP 2020. When you read a document of 2020, we find this is one of the best documents perhaps that has come to bring in reforms in the education system. The question is, what is the fate? The government is still very serious about it. The government is still thinking, yes, we want to make investment. We want to give priority to education. We want to bring reforms in the education system. We want to give respect to the teachers. We want to bring in lots of investment in our education sector. All these are the questions to be addressed to in today. Then only the relevance of NEP 2020 will become more realistic. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bhattacharya sir. And hey, I just would like to recall my first meeting with you many years back at your Pitampura school. You may not recall that, but that was my first meeting with you, and you had your meeting, that action committee meeting there, and you asked us during that meeting, Rajul, if you can arrange, some kind of experts or some people, so that you can encourage that participation for parenting. And now we are talking about it. So you had that vision 10 years back. You wanted to encourage parents.
Don't talk about my age. Age is a number. Age is only a number. I don't believe in number. I believe what exactly my capacity today, physical, emotional, intellectual capacity, that is more important than my number, age number. I never give any importance to my number. Even I say that I have 61 years in education sector, it is meaningless. Even a person with 3 years experience can be better than me. This question, therefore, is not a number. The question is of understanding, quality, your interest, your involvement, and your participation, and you're growing along with that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. And that is why leaders are called leaders. Well, thanks, Bhattacharya sir, for sharing your thoughts. I'll be coming back to you for your mentor. Now, I would request R.K. Pandey sir, sir, if you can have your opening remark.
At the outset, let me thank the India International Education Council, and I should thank Kamya Chaudhary, who had been continuously behind me, saying that, sir, can you join us? And Rajul Pratap Singh, thank you so much, for introducing us to this particular gathering. And let me tell you that it's a wonderful platform where we are able to share our thoughts. Now, coming to today's session, as far as today's session is concerned, I'm not an expert on NEP, but basically I'm going to speak over here as a principal of a school. And what I will be trying to discuss is what we need to do in our classrooms. How do we prepare our teachers? Well, and when I look at NEP and I look at COVID, I find that there is a lot of relation between both. COVID had been a period of evolution. The 1.5 year gap that we are getting now is actually allowing us to change a lot of things. And when we talk about NEP also, there has to be change. CCS failed. The reason is we were not ready to change. But at least now, we can't give that particular thing, a reason saying that we did not have time. We have a lot of time. So COVID has given this particular time to us, and I'm very sure the evolution that has taken place will help us, to welcome NEP in its new shape. Apart from that, the fourth industrial revolution is already there on us. So apart from these particular things, so the question arises is, what is that our teachers need to do? So basically what I will be doing in the session that you are going to give me later on, I'm basically going to talk about how we can increase the competency of our teachers. What competency do they require? And once they are competent, whatever may be the structure, I think so they will fit into the structure. So this is where I am, stopping myself now, and I will continue later on. Basically, what I will be talking about is how do we prepare our teachers for the NEP. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Big thanks. This is very important area, sir. We all are very excited to hear your ideas on that. Thank you, Pandey sir. I'll be coming back to you. Now, I would request Samarjit sir, sir, if we can have your opening remark.
I would really like to thank India International Education Council to give us a platform to interact with Bhattacharya sir and all the eminent principals here today. But at the end of the day, I'd like to thank Rajat and Kamya who has made this thing happening for all of us. And I'll be speaking on to the part where the vision for NEP is required. Actually, what is the vision of NEP and why NEP is supposed to be there? Because it has been a lacking period for a long time that we have to something to shift from the main course to the work the course is required today. Rest I'll conclude once I get my turn. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Samarjit sir. I'll be coming back to you. Now, I would request Ranjita ma'am. Ma'am, if we can have your opening remark.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. I will thank you for inviting me to be a speaker on this platform with speakers like Bhattacharya sir, from whom we have learned a lot. Basically, I am from Delhi and I have 16 years of my service in Delhi, and then from since 6 years, I am heading the school in Agra. So again, I would say Bhattacharya sir would not be able to remember the teachers who have, like you might have met, but I still remember I have visited the Pitampura Bal Bharati, and because I reside in Rohini. So what I would be giving, the opening remark would be somewhat similar to what Pandey sir has said as a principal, because myself being a principal, I'm looking forward to NEP and how we have to bring about the changes in our school. Majority of the reforms which are there in the NEP, which have been framed, we have already been doing since years. But yes, that's not being done by each and every school in the nation, just because it's not being implemented as NEP. So all the good schools have been doing some methods and they have evolved through this. So if we talk about the integration, what have come, the skill education, we have been doing that. But NEP was very important, and the kind of points it has to be implemented, and it will be for the betterment for each and everyone. And when we talk about CCE, I was like, I always supported CCE, and when it was withdrawn, because again it failed because it was like lack of teachers training was there, lack of understanding was there. They were not able to understand why this integration and lesson planning and a lot of teacher training is required. And now, as Pandey sir said, a lot of time has been given to all of us for the implementation, and I hope the NEP implementation will be much better and it will take our nation to be on the world map.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ranjita ma'am. I'll come back to you. Thank you, ma'am. For whatever you thought. So we all agree with you. Big thanks. I'll be coming back to you. And now I would request Jastinder sir, if we can have your opening remark.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody, and special my pranam to Bhattacharya sir. I actually head an edtech company, and we basically work with technology and languages. So my focus today during my next slot is how do we use technology to achieve what seems to be unachievable or something which is beyond thing, because nothing is there that cannot be achieved. So how do we use technology? That's one thing. Second thing is the kind of disruption that the NEP is talking about bringing in for the way early childhood or the initial foundation year you can teach using the local language, which is a welcome change and something which should actually deliver and bring in a lot of change. So how do we work on languages? What should be done? What is it that needs to be done? So my total focus is going to be on implementation of using different languages, the 3-language system and things like that. So that's what I'm going to do. I look forward to hearing from all the eminent speakers, and then I will put in my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir. For that, I'll be coming back to you. And now with this, we come to the next part of this session. But before I invite for his detailed perspective, I must recognize the presence of a very eminent education leaders among us. Dr. Anju Mehrotra from Kalka Group of Educational Institutions have joined us. Welcome, Anju ma'am. We have also been joined by Nikita ma'am, Principal Arunodaya Public School, Mumbai, Maharashtra. Welcome, Nikita ji. We have also joined by Poonam Gupta ma'am. Welcome, Poonam ma'am. And a big thanks. And before I invite Bhattacharya sir for his detailed perspective, I must I would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 138 sessions. During our last 138 sessions, almost every participant shared that this is a wonderful document. This document has the potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. But at the same time, a lot of people shared that execution is going to be highly challenging. Many people shared that finance is going to be a key concern area, which Bhattacharya sir also shared. Many people also shared that teachers training is a big concern area. Big concern. So many other educators also said that yes, teachers training is a concern, but the bigger concern is lack of intent among teachers to get trained. That motivation, lack of inspiration, for teachers to get trained. So we need to find ways for that. A lot of educators shared their assessment that good schools in urban areas already implementing many of these ideas, but the challenge is for rural school, government school, primarily for those state government schools and the budget schools. A lot of people also shared that this pandemic has exposed the poor distribution of digital infrastructure in our country. So that is going to be another big challenge, at least for some, near next years. So now I would request all our key speakers that while sharing your perspective, if you can also suggest some solutions or some best practices. Collectively, I'm just making a rough guess that collectively we have 250 years of experience, at the panel today. So we are going to learn a lot of things from all the key speakers today. So with this note, I would request all our key speakers, Bhattacharya sir, I would invite you first. Bhattacharya sir, over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, before we go for detailed discussion on early childhood education and the foundation stage education, which I will be choosing for detailed discussion with you, and what are the plans of action, because early childhood education is a subject which has been incorporated in any official document for the first time. You can go through all the documents with the Kothari Commission, or talking about the Mudaliar Commission, talking about the other education policies. Never, nowhere the early childhood education has been given any importance. And it was almost a part of a very unorganized sector of education. The curriculum was not properly constructed. The teachers were not properly trained. And in the name of the play-way method, the teachers in the schools were doing all kinds of rubbish things. And for the first time in this document, we have recognized that early childhood education occupies a very important position in the whole process of education system. The very important thing that I also note in the document, that they are not talking about early childhood education starting at the age of 3 and 3 to 6 and 2 to 8. In fact, they have also recognized that 0 to 3 is also a very important stage, where the parents have the responsibility to take care of the child's emotional, intellectual, and other developments also.
Social.
So this is a very important recommendation in NEP which we all appreciate. At the same time, they're all talking about the different stages of the early childhood education, 0 to 3, 3 to 6, and then they're talking about class 1 or 2. That means that foundation stage education will continue till the age of, say, 8, when the children are in the second standard and so on and so forth. Before I go again into details of the discussion, I will be very happy if you allow me to talk briefly about the most important recommendation of NEP 2020. You all know education is a fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society, for promoting national development, providing universal access to quality education. What exactly is lacking in our education system today? The gap between the current learning outcome and the desirable learning. What is happening in the classroom and we desire, there's still a lot of gap. This gap is also creating a problem in promoting meaningful quality education. What is happening in the classroom? The classroom teaching requires a lot of rethinking, a lot of redesigning, and that is one area for our place contemplation. Hopefully some speaker will certainly talk about this. The second thing that is very important in our recommendation, NEP, flexibility and no hard separation between curriculum and extracurricular and vocational, wonderful kind of a thing, that any child having interest in physics or having equal interest in economics or maybe music can study all these subjects. This is allowing the total manifestation of the child's ability and child's interest. This is again a very important recommendation in NEP, which also requires a lot of contemplation and a lot of debate on the point. Then we are talking about multidisciplinary approach. This is again a new thing which should come in the classroom teaching. While we are teaching physics, can there be an element of music also with that? When we are talking history, why not to try English or language also along with history? We're talking about architecture. We can talk about geography, how to integrate the various subjects. This multidisciplinary approach shall be now a new challenge for the teachers in the 21st century. And again, there's a need for rethinking of the matter, how we are going to train our teachers, how we are going to change the mindset of the teachers, because the teacher's mindset is very important. They still are only conversant with the traditional method of talking in the class, asking questions, getting the answers, but they are not talking about the multidisciplinary approach. That's again one area which requires a lot of thinking. More emphasis on creativity and critical thinking. I believe this is another very important thing, although not the first time we're talking about the critical thinking, but unfortunately, we have not been able to bring that critical thinking in our classroom teaching, where the children are allowed to think and allowed to answer, allowed to innovate, allowed to experiment, and allowed to invest their kind of a thinking over a matter. This is the one area which is lacking in our system. And we're talking about the skill development, teamwork, communication, regular formatic assessment, learning, teacher faculty, which is very important, because without the teacher in the class, whatever the curriculum that you prepare, nothing can be achieved unless and until our teachers are trained, empowered, and having the skill. So therefore, not only the question of understanding the pedagogy, it is also the question of the new skill that teachers have to develop in order to make himself, herself more meaningful and more relevant in classroom teaching. Very important thing, again, I'm talking from this document, is the autonomy. I always believe the autonomy, the freedom is a very important thing for the growth of any organization. Whether you're talking about education or anything, most important thing is that you have to allow some kind of freedom with responsibility. That autonomy means autonomy to innovate, autonomy to experiment, autonomy to do all anything that you think is very important to bringing changes in an education system and bringing reform in education system also. Then we're talking about holistic and well-rounded education, flexible choice of subjects at the secondary stage, and so on and so forth. I will not like to go through all the papers because I know there's a kind of time constraint and other speakers have to also speak. I want to come now to my very favorite subject, early childhood education, stage, learning, an integrated part of education. What do you mean by that? For the first time, early childhood education has become the integral part of the process of elementary education. And at a foundation stage, it is not that we are going to teach the 3 R's, which is not at all the most important focus in early childhood education. What exactly is the curriculum that to be prescribed for the fullest development of the personality of the children so that they are self-reliant, they have the skills, they are emotionally balanced, they can solve the problems. These are some of the skills that you are to want to develop in that formative stage, say 3 to 8. What should be now the curriculum, design the curriculum so that we can meet all those requisite kind of changes, a kind of a thing that I want to develop in a child in the age group of 3 and 6. Early childhood education should consist of flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, discovery-based. That how to achieve that? What are the suggestions we have in mind to see that early childhood education is flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, discovery. This is the very important subject, and I believe that we must have a session in order to find out how to redesign the curriculum. Although the responsibility of the construction of a curriculum for the early childhood and pre-education has been given to National Council of Educational Research and Training. But I believe that our inputs regarding the early childhood education should also be sent to the NCERT for consideration. Because we are schools and we know what is best for the children. And people, academicians, who are connected with early childhood education, be given some free hand to send the recommendation to NCERT so that we can really construct a curriculum which will be based on the basic principles of education which is required to be imparted at a childhood, maybe 3-year-old or 4-year-old. That's again a very important matter for consideration. Now I come to another point. What exactly are the learning outcomes and what exactly we want to achieve at the preschool level? First, very important thing, to develop curiosity. A child is otherwise curious. Otherwise, the child is always trying to discover. But are we given that opportunity to children in the classroom to develop that curiosity? So this is one aspect to be considered. Second is logical thinking and problem solving. Are we creating that opportunity in a classroom? Are we having that skill? The teachers having the skill to allow the children to think logically? Are we posing those kinds of problems and situations where the children will be engaged in self-solving small problems? That's again a question mark, and we have to answer to that. Art, craft, music, these are very, very important to create development of aesthetics. Do you have enough of opportunity in our school system to take care of these values, the creativity, the interest in those creative activities like dance, music, art, and so on? Then we talk about teamwork and collaboration, very important at a nursery stage or pre-primary stage. and play-based, discovery-based learning. What exactly are we doing for that? Ethics, self-identity, very important, self-identity. I should know myself. I should know what I am capable of. Swami Vivekananda said very beautifully in 1-2 sentences, the manifestation of perfection already in man. Every child is born with an innate quality, but it is important to unfold those innate qualities, to make the child understand that I am capable of doing that. I can, this is my power, this is my strength. This is a very important thing that we have to create, and that is called self-identity. Self-identity also means my personality, my power, my capability, all these things are part of self-identity. Then talking about manners, behavior, emotional development, and so on and so forth. While we're talking about this early childhood education, it is a very important facet of the education system, how best we can improve it, how best we can establish the best of the play school in our school. That's a $1 million question. Because I know while we're talking about this early childhood education, we know there are more than 5 lakh schools in Delhi, in the country, which are having 1 room and 1 teacher. 1 room and 1 teacher. In some of the schools, there is a room, but there is no teacher. We are working in that kind of pathetic situation. So can we achieve this laudable aims and objectives to bring in that changes in our education system, particularly at the early childhood stage, and to match it with international standard? It's a $1 million question, and that requires a lot of more contemplation and more debate among the education. Thank you.
Thank you, Bhattacharya sir, for sharing these valuable inputs and highlighting the national education policy, the key points from national education policy. You began by highlighting the importance of this multi-disciplinary approach, which NEP has focused, and a lot of people are talking about the positive aspect of it. You also shared your assessment. Absolutely, it would bring more flexibility. It would empower our students. You also shared your assessment that NEP is an attempt to change the mindset of teachers, and by it various proposed reforms in some times to come, there would be a changed mindset among teachers. Many other educators have also shared similar views. You also talked about that we need to inculcate 21st century skills among our learners, be it critical thinking, creativity. We need to find innovative ways how we can inculcate those skills. You also talked about where we need to allow our students to explore, so that they can find their own solutions rather than just seeking solutions from their teachers, their parents. You also talked about the importance of autonomy. In fact, a lot of other educators who have participated shared that this NEP, if lacks in some area, so it lacks in, in that area where it is not, giving more autonomy to private institutions. So that is one way. So you also talked about autonomy. You talked about we need to empower everyone to innovate, ideate, initiate. And then you also talked about the importance of ECCE, which NEP has given a huge focus. In fact, after talking to so many educators, we have come to this conclusion: if NEP has already achieved some big thing, so one among such things is mass awareness among, about this importance of early years. Now, a lot of people are talking about the importance of these early years. You also talked about the importance of discussion on redesigning the curriculum, from all aspects. And then you also talked about how this NEP is empowering our students. And then you talked about the importance of, art, music, the human values which NEP is focusing upon, be it ethics. And then you also talked about and explained why it is important to identify, for oneself. We need to discover ourselves. Self-identity is such an important thing. So big thanks, Bhattacharya sir, for your valuable thoughts. I'll be coming back to you with questions.
That will be wonderful, because the questions, and that ignites your mind, then you answer, then you think more.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'll come back to you. Now, with this, I would request Pandey sir, sir, if we can have your ideas, your thoughts. Pandey sir.
Thank you, Mr. Rajul. Let me thank Bhattacharya sir for, in fact, setting the tone for today's discussion. In fact, there were so many things which we really need to, talk about. We need to think over, contemplate, and these things are not going to happen overnight. This requires focus. It requires, continuous thought over this, and only then we will be able to achieve. Now, coming to my own self, what I feel is, if we are looking into the teachers, like basically see whether we talk about the national education policy or we talk about the CCS or we talk about any particular class as such, finally, like whatever policies we have, the visions we have, it is the teachers who are going to finally, see that it has been implemented into the classrooms. So the question arises is, what do we do with our teachers? There are a lot of ironies in this particular country, especially if you're talking about the teacher education itself. We find there are a lot of teachers who, get a B.Ed degree even without going to a teacher education college. Okay, and when they come back to schools, they feel that it is just getting into a classroom and teaching is enough. But what happens is many a times, we have a teaching style. We may be, very good with our language. We may have, a different aura among the children and so like that. And we feel that, okay, fine, I've been successful in teaching. But the question which we really need to ask, that how are we saying that we have been successful in teaching? Was it that giving a very good lecture in the classroom, or is it that, showing a very good demonstration to the students, tells us that, or is actually telling us that, yes, we have been able to, achieve what we wanted to achieve? No, it is not that. Now, like when we discuss most of the times with the teachers, what we find is the very important thing is when they get into a classroom, many of us are not getting into the classroom with an objective itself. When we ask teachers, to set an objective or at least give us some objectives of your class that you have, they are not able to frame objectives. So when we are not able to frame objectives, then the question arises is, what are we doing in the classroom? How are we going to do things? So basically what I would, suggest today, because there are a lot of principals and we all have a lot of teachers also who are, watching this particular session or listening to us, is, Rajul ji rightly pointed out that there has to be a motivation among the teachers to learn. We usually keep telling that, yes, it is very, very difficult to train teachers. Yes, I do agree. It's a big country. It is difficult to train. But teachers who have come into the profession, I think so there has to be a calling. They have to, look at things saying that, okay, fine, when I'm getting into my class, am I able to learn? Bhattacharya ji was, rightly pointing out about the single teacher system that we have in our country. The single teacher system where there are schools, I still remember the Operation Blackboard, which was launched at the, where we were having what is called classes under the tree. And the only requirement that we were talking about was a blackboard. So there are situations like this, but when teachers are already there in schools which have a lot of facilities and things like that, I think so there must be a motivation among the teachers to learn. But at the same time, the greater responsibility comes on the leadership of the school, the principal. And what it is here, where the principal has to actually help the teacher to set the objectives and things like that. And my basic thing, what I would, talk about today is whether it was the CCS or whether it is the NEP which is going to come up, if teachers have the objectives very, very clear in front of them, I'm very sure most of the things will fall into place. But when I say objectives, what does it mean? Many times I get into my classroom, I want to teach something. Now, the question arises is, after I have taught this, am I able to measure what I have taught this? At least what I feel is COVID has given us that particular platform today that we have started using a lot of technology in our classrooms. We have become tech savvy. The 1 year that was there, has actually given a lot of what is called freedom to the teachers to use technology. Like for example, we ourselves, we use Google Classrooms. Now what we find is we find the rubrics there. We find so many things which are coming over there, and it has actually become a boon to the teachers. So if the teachers, are able to set the objectives which are measurable. Now, basically what I would ask everybody is to look at smart objectives. When I'm talking about the smart objectives, I'm not just talking of the smartness of a person, but I mean over here, this, it is an acronym where we want these objectives to be specific. We want them to be measurable. We want them to be achievable. We want them to be renewable, and it has to be time bound. Now, if the teachers are able to do this in their classroom, if they are able to measure things, then what will happen is they will also understand that what methodology have to be used. Because many a times it so happens that when I get into my classroom, I may be using the chalk and talk method, but at the end of it, if I am able to measure, saying that, yes, whether I have been successful today using my chalk and talk method, I think so there will be a calling saying that you have not been able to measure. Why don't you think of an other alternative? So this is very, very important for us. Like we need to, look at the classroom when we prepare our classes. Let us get into the classes with an objective. And basically what I would like to recommend is the teacher getting into a classroom. If they are able to write on one corner of the board, what are the objectives they need to achieve? By the end of this particular class, nothing like that. Children will understand what is the objective the teacher has come with. Teacher will be also guided with those particular objectives that is needed over there. Other important thing is if I am very clear about my objective, I am also clear about my measurements, then I also know how I am going to go with the assessment. Because many times, when we talk to the teachers about assessment, we usually talk about saying that, okay, fine, we'll give them an objective type test. We'll give them this particular test. We'll give that test. Or we will, ask some quiz questions in the classroom. But then the question arises is, are these the only method of testing children in the classroom? And when I'm talking about testing, I'm talking about both the things. I'm talking about not just, asking the children to, a particular question where they have to recognize or recall and they have just done and you feel happy. It is not that. If I'm talking about testing over here, I'm talking about, whether this particular children, what they have learned, are they able to really do it in a new situation? Are they really, able to get into it? Why are we not allowing children to, experiment in the classroom, research into the classroom? Like just a few days back, I was talking to one of the teachers of biology and we were talking about insects. I just asked the teacher saying that, okay, fine, please tell me why insects are called insects. Okay, and we did not have answers. Why don't we ask children? We talk to them about the plant cell. We talk to them about the animal cell. We know that a plant cell has what is called a cell wall. An animal cell does not have a cell wall. Why don't we ask children that what would have happened if animal cell had a cell wall? What structural difference it would have brought in? See, when we are talking about testing, we are talking about assessment, we want people to go away from the regular, questioning like quizzing or asking a fill up the blank or framing a multiple type question, than to what is known as, where they really think. Actually, Bhattacharya sir was very rightly, pointing out that we are not allowing our children to explore. If teachers are very, very clear about, yes, what objectives I have gone into my classroom with, then they will also understand, okay, fine, yes, this is what we need to do. And now, at least at present, we have the NCERT has already come up with the learning objectives. They have come out with the learning objectives. And what I would recommend is every teacher over here, and especially the head of the institution, to go through these particular learning objectives. Ask teachers to map them with the learning objectives of the classroom. Like, for example, if I'm going to teach a particular lesson to the children, let me find out what are the various things that I can do. And most important thing is, it is not just the learning objective. Every class must also talk about certain skills that we want children to develop. Like every class will give you, because one particular class does not give you the scope to achieve all skills. But there can be what is called, a multiple number of classes which will allow you to, get into, or understand what are the various skills I can get into. Like, for example, imagine if I'm a physics teacher and I get into a classroom, I show them an experiment. An experiment will allow them to observe. An experiment will allow them, to take readings. They'll allow them to make inference. But what is required over here is this we have been doing from years together. But now question is, after we do this particular experiment, can we take it forward? Can we allow children to explore? Like, for example, I take a piece of ice and if I keep it on a table, let the children explore. What happens if I pour hot water over it? What is going to happen if I pour cold water over it? What happens if I put salt on it? What will happen instead of putting salt, I take black salt and pour it on it, or I take rock salt and put it on it. So what has to happen is there has to be thinking in this particular direction. And if these things can happen into the classroom, then it can happen. And for these, what has to happen is teachers have to have well-rounded objectives into the classroom, which are measurable, which are time-bound. And, with that, what will happen is they will be able to actually know what is actually happening around them. Otherwise what happens is I just finish my class and come out and, maybe, children have learned, but that particular learning is just rote learning, which happens. So what we look at is we look learning in its real sense. Like, for example, if I look at India itself, if we look at the number of patents that we are getting today in India is very, very less. Now a time has come even where we are talking about failures in IIT, where, IITs are taking the cream of the children into their institutions. So, but why these things are happening? The very thing is these things are happening is because we are, converting our children into mechanical beings. The coaching classes or whatever it is, they are making them answer the same question a number of times. And if the same question comes, the children are able to answer them and they are able to get into. But the actual foundation which has to be laid in the schools, where they need to explore, where they need to have their logical thinking, where they need to have various things, like others, we were just asking children, usually we say, you go and buy a pen and the shopkeeper is ready to give you 20% discount. So suppose the shopkeeper gives you 20% discount, will you accept it? Or the shopkeeper says, no, I will give you 10 plus 10% discount, will you take it? So such type of questions are, needed for today's children, where they will actually take it up and they will try to learn. It is not just finding out the percentage is important, but where the percentage can be found out, what this percentage means. So these things are quite important. In fact, I'm not going into the this particular session. I do understand my time constraints. So I'm not getting into how objective has to be framed and things like that. Given a chance later on, I shall be very happy to discuss with teachers or train them how, objectives can be framed, how they can be measurable, how you can look them. I can, talk about saying that what you can do in that particular 40 minutes into your classroom, how things can be achieved. So I conclude over here. Thank you, Mr. Rajul, for giving us this particular platform, and I'll wait for the questions. Thank you very much. So we are not able to hear you.
I'm sorry. I just forgot to unmute myself. So big thanks, Pandey sir, for your useful and wonderful talk on teacher education. You talked about how we can reinvent our teacher education. You talked about how teachers are missing to find measurable objectives while entering inside classrooms. So that's wonderful area, sir. And you were when you were sharing these points, I was just thinking, how many teachers in one life, while entering inside the classroom, while introducing the chapter, they share like what we are going to learn in next 35 minutes, 40 minutes. So there were a few teachers who did that. So I recall that those classes were different from other classes where I did not know the roadmap. So big thanks, and certainly we'll organize a detailed and dedicated session on this, and we would get back to you if you can share more detailed perspective on that about how we can identify and create smart, measurable, time-bound objectives. You also talked about why we need to find out-of-the-box ways for assessment, and that kind of assessment certainly helps in thinking. You also shared a lot of examples how it can do that. You also talked about where the learning needs to take place in true sense, where it must solve the practical problems, so that it would be more effective learning. So a big thanks, Pandey sir, for these very much useful ideas. I'll be coming back to you with questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
And now I would request Samarjit sir, sir, if we can have your thoughts, your ideas in detail.
It was really pleasure learning and listening to Bhattacharya sir about NEP and his views regarding the primary education and the kindergarten education. Basically, he wants to change the kindergarten education system. And after having such a good lecture from Mr. Bhattacharya, and it is very difficult to again come back onto those points, but I'd elaborate Mr. Pandey's point. He has very rightly said we are lacking onto the experiential learning part, and I'll just like to elaborate that. You will all agree that we all have a good eyesight. I'm talking in terms of the staff and students, but half of us or 70% of us, what I have come across, we lack vision. So if we have a good eyesight, it doesn't mean you are able to see what you want, but you have to have a vision, which is more important. So starting with it, the experiential learning part, we have been taking it at our school, and being a school with the name of Sai Grace, so we are there with little Indian ideologies. We have been teaching students Vedas, where I found it is another experiential learning technology with the students. Normally, what you teach is always a classroom teaching is there. But if some teacher comes and teaches another subject, nothing to do with the core curriculum, but other than the subject, but yes, it has to be mugged up by the students, like the Vedas. It is very difficult to learn Ved. And the students, what they show it, they have done it in last 4 or 5 years with us. It was remarkable, but because the teacher there was involved and was only teaching, and the child was only focused in learning Vedas. What Mr. Pandey was very much correctly, he was telling, yes, we are lacking onto, the teachers are lacking onto the vision part. The vision part and the experiential learning part has to be taken care of by the principals or the head of the institutions or the coordinator concerned in the school. Coming up to the NEP part, NEP is very good, because other day I was speaking to the chairman CBSE, the madam was there. So what we were talking about, the practicality of NEP, can it be there in 100% where I as an individual have 100% doubt? Because there are so many issues, not only the kindergarten section, but in the higher section, in the class grade 11th and 12th, there are certain parts of NEP which cannot be implemented at all. Right from the question bank to the assessment. The assessment will be a problem in NEP if individual schools or the schools, public schools, look into it. The hard fact of NEP is we were no school, the school association or the school leaders or school teachers were involved. It was only high intellectual people who were there in NEP. So the ground reality has to be practiced with the schools. And before the NEP is coming into implementation part, the NEP has to be discussed with the school people, with the school principal, teachers, and the students. The practicality of NEP will be very difficult. If the launch is not right, then the entire exercise goes for waste. So the NEP has to be taken care of properly. Coming on to the senior level part, where the NEP has been telling we will be taking this as measurement of the marking scheme, which is very difficult. The practical subjects they want to carry it on. They will be abolishing science and commerce stream. But yes, it is good for the student. But at the end of the day, the child again will be like the Bhattacharya sir and Pandey sir and the principal I'm here will also agree to certain part. Ki child having bio and economics, and maths. At the end of the day, when he passed 12th, what will he do, or what will he be able to? Till now he's misguided, and after NEP, what I feel, if he takes all these subjects, what will happen to it? It's hard fact. because we have been doing it. I am MSc Physics, done MBA, running a school. So again, I am into a thick soup. Okay, why it is like this? But if the child has maths, bio, and economics, well, half of the schools in Delhi are doing it. But maths, economics, bio, and economics, the people in Delhi, sir, they are doing it, sir, Bhattacharya, sir. They are giving science students economics. And it is something like that. You have having physical education, fine arts, and all science subjects. So what at the end of the day, physics, chemistry is not scoring well, but he's passing in all the subjects and is class 12 pass, sir.
Mr. Singh, you raised a very vital point, and this point must be discussed at length. That with all these different combinations, what is the future of the student? I can give an example of a boy.
And it will be a thick soup, sir. The discussion will not be that healthy, sir.
When we went to, he had a doctorate in biotechnology. But after that, he did his, a doctorate in medicine, and he's a
Your voice is not clear, sir.
Known cardiologist now in US. So biotechnology, now you're doing cardiologist. This flexibility is
the latest. Sir, I'll just the latest message what you got from the Ministry of HRD that your physics and maths will not be there as part of the AIEEE exam had created a havoc. If you are aware about that message, which was floated.
Yeah. Samarji sir, I would request you first finish your thoughts, and then we'll take the detailed perspective from Bhattacharya sir and other leaders. So otherwise, मैं भूल जाऊंगा कि मैं यहाँ चल के आऊँ sir.
My basic because Bhattacharya sir has already done it, and you got so many speakers. Ma'am, you're telling something.
I too have done it.
You're not audible, ma'am.
Yeah, I said I too have. I think I'm audible now. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I was going to add on to this only, but as Mr. Rajul has just said that we will be adding more points.
Right, Samarji sir, I would request first, पहले करके फिर बाद में इकट्ठा ले लेंगे सबसे.
That would be better. So what my intention is, the NEP is still without a vision. We have an eyesight by name of NEP. We have specs with NEP, but what is the end of the day will be the vision is missing with NEP. This I have spoken to the Minister of Education as well, because formulating something which is not there in the interest of the students, I don't think it is a good act. At the end of the day, we might talk about the kindergarten, we talk about the middle school, but as far as the senior school students are concerned, we are not having things which are good at the end of the day for the school students. For me, NEP is good, but only till the time it is drawing certain lines. Yes, it is good for this, it is good for that. Second, we will be having problem in class 11th, 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, where the grading systems will be there, where the practical subjects have been increased and the theory subjects have been reduced. So that will be a problem area for the students. Now they are performing on whether it is a rote learning or whether it is any kind of learning. But the only thing is the students are performing as of now. But after say 4 years or 5 years, what is NEP? Why the child will be, how the child will be benefit with the NEP? That will be a bigger question. Still we have in India, what is we having in India is, we do class 12, we have a passport. We do a degree, we have a visa. And after masters, we have H1 visa. But what after that? We don't have a job. So this is the skilled education which is missing in India, and it will going to do a long way if this all things happen in India. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, Samarji sir. I would, invite Ranjita ma'am, but before that, I would request Bhattacharya sir. Sir, if we can have your comments, you wanted to share a few insight. Samarji sir has said like NEP lacks vision in some part. In some part, it is offering wonderful reforms, but in some areas, it is lacking in the vision. Bhattacharya sir.
Whatever they say, this is his own understanding of the NEP. And he has really opened a Pandora's box in the discussion. So there's a lot of things to be discussed. He said that the education policy is not realistic. The ideas of the stakeholders have not been invited. The curriculum designing for 11th, 12th classes are not actually practical, is not going to benefit the students. development should be focused. I believe that skill development is the most important chapter in NEP. We are talking about not only the learning, it is only the understanding, application that is more important. Content is not important. Process is important. Understanding is important. Process is important. This is some of the things which have been highlighted in NEP. We do not want to make the children learn through the rote learning. We want to make children understand, contemplate, then apply. The 5 beautiful things have been said in Vedas. I want to quote the Vedas about the steps of learning. Shravana, Grahana, Manana, and these are the stages of learning. Shravana, be a good listener, very important. Grahana, receive, understand. Manana, recapitulate. And then application, nitidhyasa, think, contemplate, and apply. And knowledge is not for the sake of knowledge. Knowledge is to be used in life. Therefore, the application of knowledge is more important. Therefore, the basics of the learning have been beautifully defined also in Vedas, and even in NEP 2000, the emphasis is on quality education. What exactly are the most important components of quality education that have been defined, and number of steps have been suggested in NEP 2000, including that empowerment of teachers. Very important, because the teachers are going to make a big difference in the classroom teaching. Therefore, curriculum is one thing, but the transaction of curriculum to the empowered teacher is more important. So Mr. Pandit talked about the quality of teachers and the examples also, how the teachers to be in the class, how the teachers to be more prepared with the lesson planning, how with the learning outcomes, how the teacher is going to make assessment, how the teacher is going to follow. These are very important things. Therefore, very important thing for us today is empowerment of teachers. And that another chapter is there in NEP 2020. That is called the Teachers Training Program and TET. These are the 2 very important recommendations in NEP. So you must consider these. I will come back again whenever there is any controversy. But at the same time, Mr. Samarji is saying, I compliment you because you have spoken from your heart. Whatever you believe, you have tried to talk about that. And that is the way.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
The most important thing for a teacher is his passion.
Sir.
Until I do not have passion, nothing is important. Sir. But that passion that you have, as a teacher, you have got that passion, and you have the passion and mission, and you are selected teaching as a first choice can beat you. Because unfortunately, in my country, the teachers who become the teachers are not really the teachers who want to be teachers. They are teachers because of the compulsion. That is the main problem.
We agree to it, sir.
A half-hearted. Not having any passion, not having any kind of interest. Such teachers are wasting the children's life, their personality development, their education, everything. So that is a thing which is really missing in our education. How a teacher will be paid when teachers not properly paid, not given proper respect in the classroom, not even by the society. How can you expect anything good from the teachers then? These are the questions to be answered. Okay, we'll take up the battle later.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Bhattacharya sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Just a moment. This is deliberation and debating. Both are important. Yes. So what Mr. Singh is doing, we need that kind of debate, sir. So yes, we will come back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jaswinder, sir.
Deliberation, yes.
Absolutely. So now I would request Ranjita ma'am, if we can have your ideas, your thoughts.
Sure, sir. Like what Bhattacharya sir has said is saying like
ma'am, we have lost your audio. Ranjita ma'am.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible, ma'am, now.
Am I audible? To understand NEP, we need to like go through that document again and again, so that we are able to see the vision. We are able to feel the vision it is upholding, and it's there is like it happened with CCE. At the onset, I said CCE was like very close to my heart, and it was like revolutionizing the education system. We used to have value-based questions in our question paper. We used to have problem-solving ability questions, PSA questions. Then we even introduced the open textbooks system, OTBA questions also. But then there was not an understanding for that, and the teachers were not ready to accept the major changes, because of which it rolled back. For NEP, again and again, to understand, it has a place. It is well drafted document after so much of consultation. It has a place of each and everything. It has thought over the teacher training. It is like what is best for the Indian education system in the coming years so as to emerge the winner. It's like everything. If like sir was talking about the combination of biology, physics, mathematics and economics, I would just say 10 years back in my Delhi school, I was having a student. Who said, I want economics as my 6th subject instead of physical education. I asked, Ram, why do you have so much burden? Economics. He said, Mom, I aspire to be an IAS officer, and I need to learn about this subject from this point itself. And now when NEP is being drafted, it's talking about the same thing. Like we have our goals, and why we are restricting our students to have certain. I have some subjects where I want to be like have knowledge, having my own set of combination of subjects. It will take time, I do understand, and like as NEP will be implemented, so our own, like whatever doubts we have, it will be cleared. And I'm talking about the teacher training also, the National Professional Standards for Teachers, that's NPST, which is given in the NEP itself, will be there by 2022. And we will be able to guide our teachers also. So there are many beautiful things about like NEP. NEP has come like after so many years, like 1986 for the last time we had this. I have so many positive thoughts for the NEP citizens and would lead them into the 21st century. Majority of us, we have been talking about the 21st century skills, and I am from Delhi, so I would be saying, yes, like the metropolitan cities, some of the good cities are talking about 21st century skills in so many years. But still, though India has like the youngest of the students, the young population, but we are not utilizing it. We are not training them to be the global citizens. We're not instilling them in 21st century skills. We are still telling them like academic scores are more important. We are not letting any room for the creative thinking, the critical thinking, the decision making. The moment a student in the kindergarten or a primary section, they see something from their heart out, and the moment they are not able to say in English, what we say in our school, better try karo English mein bolo. Try to speak in English. And 3 or 4 times we say so in the primary department. What actually happens, the student sits and say, "Main dil ki baat to kar hi nahi pata." The NEP is talking about like we have to teach till primary section, the like standard 2, grade 2, and maybe till grade 8 also. We will be having the 3 language system till that. Now we are having in 6 to 8. But then why? I have been to countries like Japan, to Sweden to study about the education standard. And everywhere where the education system is so good, they study in their mother language. So the student is having his or her mother tongue back home. And when it comes to the school, we force them, speak in English, speak in English, speak in English, irrespective of from where the student is. Maybe he is so creative at heart. Maybe he has got such beautiful ideas in his heart. But what we say, एक elite school में आया तो बेटा पहले English में बात करो. So there are some so good points of NEP which we should understand. And what I will see, and it will match the social and technological status of the world. The best part is the NEP is focusing on how to think as opposed to what to think, being followed by the previous education models in India, whatever we used to have. And changing the pedagogical structure from 10+ system to 5+, 3+, 3+4 system is in line with all the international educational practices. Before this, we were not even talking about the kindergarten. And we never thought of this, like we always thought about 10+2. And when you talk about the skilling of each child during schooling, it will increase the importance of skills in the eyes of students and their employability. For a small task at our home, we are like, even if I am an IIT and even if I am a principal, if I need a plumber, simple things I cannot do at home. Why? But when the skill education is there, and we, again, I will say, when FMM was introduced as skill education, we introduced in our school. The students were talking about stock markets, stocks, and just after 12th class, they were like, the employment was there for them. Why we want everyone to land up into an engineering or a medical college? Now everybody is talking about nowadays, even like we have a lot of poets about this, that there are so many people out there who are without jobs. Why it's so? Because we have never taught them to be skilled during the school time. And that's what NEP is talking about. So whenever we talk about NEP, we have to highlight all the important things it is talking about. And NEP is recognizing the respect, and it respects the different capabilities of the student. There is a special portion talking about the gifted students, how we have to deal with them. There is a special portion which is talking about the children with special needs and inclusive education. So that is very important to go through. While curriculum and teaching are central to the educational quality, the focus is students' experience in learning. And what I think this NEP will bridge the gap between technology and education in India. That is very important. And again, there is some misconception. Like the moment NEP talked about coding, artificial intelligence, and there was like all in social media, there was a clip of our Prime Minister talking about coding. And then suddenly coding companies like shot up and they were saying we are teaching coding from grade 1 to grade 12 and everything. Please go and study what NEP is talking about coding and what actually coding is. Is NEP talking about coding from grade 6 or grade 1? If I am enrolling my child in for grade 1, I was talking to some of the parents and they were like, grade 1 and grade 2, my school and the principal will not be.
Madam, if you are serious about artificial intelligences, then you have to learn the coding. And without learning the coding, how can you apply AI? Artificial intelligence, which is now must. Which is now must.
Yes.
If you are outdated,
Yes.
you are not using artificial intelligence in your classroom.
Yes.
And therefore, what the Prime Minister said is very, very pertinent and correct.
That is important.
Children should learn. Really
Yes.
important. And I believe that without technology, we are all becoming outdated.
And becoming
possible. There is no any replacement, no substitute. Therefore, understand today that without, I am now 80+, but even today,
we would not be talking
like
platform like this.
Even if I want to remain relevant, I must know the basics at least. That is the question. That is a very big question.
But what I was...
The coding makes you logical, which is very important.
Sir, what
coding makes you logical. You think logical,
yes.
man.
Yes, that is, no sir, you didn't get my point. What I said is like, we were there for the AI, we were there for the coding, but as principal, as teachers, we need to tell parents that when we're talking about coding at class 1, they were like, he will be building some apps and everything. Coding for class 1 is not like this. Coding is like this. And
I'm sorry to intervene. I'm sorry to intervene, Mrs. Biswas this side. If a class 1 child is showing interest, then that freedom should be given to that child, even
yes,
if he is in class 1.
Yes, of
I don't
course.
believe that we should set a standard for students. We should give them the freedom. That's what I feel. Anyway, carry on. Sorry to intervene.
No, it's okay. Yes, of course. But I was telling that the thing is the expectation, what grows was like, okay, the grade 1 student or a kindergarten student, then it was like we need to go through it, and like how, like class wise, if I talk about coding, what is actually coding and how it will develop. Developing analytical skill, developing critical thinking will not actually be coding till we get to the grade of, okay, we have students who are developing an app. If we talk about developing an app, it can be cut and paste also. The most important thing is developing 21st century skills. That is the important thing. I can see the smiles there on my screen. I wanted to share some slides, but I don't think so. I have so much time with me.
Right.
These are some of the, but these are some of the important areas where we need to think about. And we talk about the teachers training again. I would say,
right.
And like a lot of things were talked about. But this is actually what we have been doing since last 15 years. As Sir said, like teachers are by choice or by chance. And I'm passionate enough. I would be integrating, I would be going multidisciplinary in my lesson planning. And that is what is the role of a mentor in a school. But why NEP has to be appreciated? Because now it has to be done. First, it was our choice. Okay, if I want to implement this in my school, fine. I'll be teaching my teachers like you have to go plan like this. But now, as per the NEP, everyone has to do it, and it has a future for all students in India.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ranjita ma'am. So you were equally passionate while sharing your perspective. You began by highlighting the importance of CCE, but you also shared, a lot of other educators have also shared that CCE got failed or got defeated due to the poor training, for teachers about CCE. I'm sure Bhattacharya sir has, his perspective on it. We would be coming back to him for his perspective. You also talked about the importance of national professional standard for testing, which is being proposed in NEP, and how it is going to empower good teachers and teachers. You also talked about and you shared your assessment where we are not utilizing our youth power by empowering them with the 21st century skill. And you rightly said that NEP has focused upon that part. And in years to come, we would see our youth getting empowered with right skill set. You also talked about the importance of mother tongue and how it is going to create a good environment, create a lot of advantages, for our learners. You also talked about the importance of vocational education, and NEP's focus on vocational education, would create an impact. And then you also highlighted that part where NEP has focused upon the inclusive education, and how it is going to, create impact. So big thanks, Ranjita ma'am, for participating and sharing your valuable thoughts. I'll come back to you with questions. Thank you. Sure. And now I would invite our last speaker for this very special session, Jaswinder Singh sir. Jaswinder sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everybody. We've all talked about teachers, we've all talked about training, we've all talked about pedagogy, we've all talked about technology. Let me bring all of them together. That's where I come from. I come from an edtech company. To start with, NEP, great things, a lot to do. It all starts with training our teachers. But the first and the foremost training that we need to give to our teachers is on the digital skills, not on coding, but on how to find information and how to filter that information and get what they want. So the first step is to train them how to learn on their own. We are talking about